The crown didn't explode in one dramatic moment. It froze Prince Harry out so completely that Prince William now reportedly sees the entire Sussex empire as worthless, toxic, and beyond saving. Not dangerous, not powerful, just finished. And that may be the most humiliating twist of this entire royal war. Because for years, the palace looked furious, reactive, almost cornered by every interview, every documentary, every accusation coming from California. But suddenly, silence. Cold, calculated silence. And insiders now believe that silence is not weakness anymore, it's strategy. What changed behind palace walls is deeply unsettling because according to explosive reports circulating through royal insiders and amplified by commentator Rob Shooter, William has reportedly concluded something brutal. Harry and Meghan are now destroying themselves better than the monarchy ever could. Think about that. For 6 years, the institution kept trying to contain the chaos. Every podcast, every interview, every book, every bombshell revelation. But now palace officials allegedly believe the public has already made up its mind simply by watching the Sussexes operate in real time. That's why the so-called Let Them Doctrine is terrifyingly effective. Let them speak. Let them launch projects. Let them post cryptic astrology messages. Let them chase celebrity relevance. Because every new appearance allegedly widens the gap between genuine royal duty and what critics are calling a commercial imitation of royalty. And suddenly, every comparison became dangerous for Harry and Meghan. While King Charles reportedly continued major diplomatic operations during cancer treatment, while Catherine slowly returned to public life during her own terrifying health battle, while William positioned himself as the stable future king, the Sussex brand allegedly drifted into celebrity noise. That's the accusation now haunting California. Palace figures are producing substance. The Sussexes are producing headlines. And audiences are noticing. One side appears institutional, disciplined, historic. The other side increasingly looks commercial, emotional, restless. Even critics who once sympathized with Harry are beginning to ask uncomfortable questions. Where is the long-term mission? Where is the structure? Where is the impact beyond publicity cycles? The contrast became impossible to ignore during Charles's massive U.S. state visit, which insiders reportedly viewed as a devastating reminder of what real royal machinery looks like when fully activated. Congress standing ovations, White House receptions, international diplomacy, celebrity attendance, historic symbolism. Meanwhile, at almost the exact same time, Harry and Meghan were facing damaging headlines from Australia, awkward viral clips, disappointing polling numbers, and accusations that their appearances felt performative rather than meaningful. Palace observers allegedly realized something critical in that moment. The monarchy didn't need to attack Harry and Meghan anymore because comparison itself was doing the damage. And then came the emotional collapse at the center of this story. Harry himself reportedly accepting that William will never forgive him. That's the part insiders keep returning to. Not anger anymore. Finality. According to the reporting, Harry allegedly stopped trying during Charles's recent state visit. No outreach, no meeting requests, no reconciliation attempt, nothing. Because somewhere along the line, he reportedly understood the door had closed permanently. That realization may have triggered a completely different strategy. If he cannot return to the monarchy, then perhaps he can become something else entirely. A global figure outside palace control. A people's prince. A second Diana. That's where this story becomes emotionally explosive. Because Harry reportedly believes he can recreate Diana's magic from California, humanitarian appearances, emotional accessibility, viral compassion, global celebrity activism, all without needing Buckingham Palace. And to some extent, critics admit he still possesses part of that ability. He connects naturally during public engagements. He understands emotional symbolism. He knows how to create moments that travel online instantly. During the Australia tour, footage of Harry kneeling beside children and disabled attendees reportedly reignited memories of the old prince people once adored. For a second, audiences saw flashes of Diana's son again. But palace analysts believe there is one devastating flaw in Harry's Diana comparison. Diana challenged the monarchy while still fundamentally believing in it. Harry, critics argue, increasingly positions himself as an alternative to it. Diana bent the institution. Harry appears determined to break it. And that distinction changes everything because audiences allegedly sensed Diana's rebellion came from pain inside the system, while Harry's now feels fueled by resentment outside the system. That emotional shift has transformed public perception. Diana was viewed as the conscience of the monarchy. Harry, according to harsh critics, risks becoming viewed as a permanently angry exile monetizing grievance. The most painful layer of all may involve Catherine's cancer battle. battle. According to multiple insiders discussed in the broadcast, William's fear of losing Catherine reportedly hardened him against Harry instead of softening him. Think about the emotional weight of that. During one of the darkest periods of William's life, while his wife underwent cancer treatment and the future of his family felt uncertain, Harry's ongoing projects, interviews, memoir revelations, and public commentary allegedly became emotionally intolerable to him. Palace sources claim William recalibrated everything during that period. His wife mattered, his children mattered, his father's health mattered. Harry no longer did. What makes this entire situation darker is that the palace no longer appears emotionally invested in fighting Harry and Meghan at all. That emotional detachment is what insiders now describe as the true turning point, because institutions become most dangerous when they stop reacting. And according to the reporting surrounding this explosive royal narrative, William has allegedly reached a stage where he no longer sees Harry as a threat worth engaging. That is why the so-called Operation Thor conversations happening inside British media and political circles reportedly feel disconnected from reality. Politicians, commentators, and even some royal observers continue floating the fantasy that Harry could somehow be welcomed back into the fold if Meghan disappeared from the equation. But the deeper problem, according to palace logic, is no longer Meghan. It is trust. Harry crossed lines that William allegedly believes can never be uncrossed. The Oprah interview. Spare. The repeated public exposure of private family pain, the monetization of intimate royal trauma. Critics say Meghan may have accelerated the collapse, but Harry actively participated in every stage of it, and that changes the emotional mathematics completely. What really horrified sections of the British public, according to commentators in this broadcast, was the timing of it all. Queen Elizabeth's final years, Prince Philip's decline, King Charles's cancer treatment, Catherine's terrifying diagnosis. Yet somehow the Sussex media machine allegedly continued extracting emotional content from the family drama while senior royals were physically and emotionally vulnerable. That perception became catastrophic because once audiences begin believing that family pain is being commercially repackaged during moments of illness and crisis, forgiveness becomes incredibly difficult. Palace insiders reportedly understand this better than anyone. They allegedly know the public can tolerate scandal. They can tolerate rebellion. But exploiting visible suffering inside an elderly family during cancer battles, that crosses into something colder, something audiences remember. And the cracks are now appearing even inside the Sussex Defense Network itself. One of the most revealing moments in this entire discussion came when defenders of Meghan reportedly struggled to explain what exactly her larger contribution has been beyond victimhood narratives and accusations of unfair treatment. That silence became awkward, painfully awkward, because critics immediately contrasted it with the endless lists associated with other royals, William's environmental projects, Catherine's early childhood work, Anne's relentless engagements, Edward and Sophie's duty schedules, Charles's decades of charitable foundations. Meghan's defenders reportedly kept circling back to one argument: she was treated unfairly. But increasingly, audiences are asking a brutal follow-up question: okay, but beyond the controversy, what was built? What remains? What lasting structure exists beyond publicity itself? That is where William's alleged worthless brand conclusion becomes so viciously symbolic, because it doesn't merely mean unpopular, it means exhausted, depleted, overexposed, a brand entirely dependent on royal proximity while simultaneously attacking the institution providing that proximity. Palace strategists reportedly believe the contradiction finally became too obvious for audiences to ignore. Every new documentary, interview, lifestyle launch, podcast appearance, celebrity retreat, or vague Instagram messaging cycle allegedly weakens the mystique instead of strengthening it, and the market data being discussed around Sussex-aligned products has reportedly intensified that fear. Underperforming launches, weak audience retention, commercial fatigue, books struggling to dominate attention the way they once did. Even Omid Scobie's latest project reportedly became symbolic of a collapsing ecosystem that no longer controls the narrative the way it once seemed to. Meanwhile, independent royal commentators exploded across YouTube, Substack, and digital platforms, bypassing traditional royal media entirely. That shift matters enormously because for years, the Sussex operation allegedly depended on careful carefully managed media relationships where questioning could be controlled. But now, thousands of independent commentators dissect every appearance instantly, compare contradictions, replay footage endlessly, and build alternative narratives outside legacy press systems. Palace observers reportedly realized they no longer needed aggressive counterattacks because the internet itself had become the battlefield. Every clip gets analyzed, every inconsistency spreads, every emotional interview is compared against previous statements. The institution simply waits while the audience performs the analysis on its behalf. That is the terrifying brilliance behind the Them Doctrine. Silence forces the public to become the judge. And perhaps the most chilling detail of all is the growing belief that Harry himself now understands this. That is why his public posture reportedly shifted from returning prince to outsider celebrity activist. Because according to insiders, he finally accepted William will never publicly forgive him. Not after Catherine's cancer crisis. Not after Spare. Not after years of institutional humiliation. The emotional bridge burned too completely. So now Harry allegedly focuses on survival outside the palace system entirely. But even there, danger is growing. Critics claim the California operation increasingly feels trapped in permanent escalation mode. Bigger accusations, bigger reveals, bigger emotional hooks. Because once grievance becomes the product, silence becomes financially dangerous. The machine constantly needs another headline, another revelation, another emotional rupture to sustain relevance. And that creates the final terrifying possibility hanging over this entire royal war, the looming autobiography preparation, and what insiders keep hinting may eventually emerge if financial or personal pressure intensifies further. Threats of more secrets, more revelations, more hidden stories. Palace figures reportedly understand those warnings perfectly well, yet astonishingly, they still appear committed to the same strategy. Let them continue. Let the audience watch. Let the comparison grow harsher naturally. Because William and the institution allegedly believe time itself is now on their side. The monarchy continues moving forward through ceremonies, succession planning, diplomatic events, family appearances, and generational continuity. Harry and Meghan, meanwhile, risk becoming trapped in an endless cycle of defending their own relevance. That is why this story no longer feels like a temporary family feud. It feels like a slow institutional exile unfolding in public view. And perhaps the most devastating part for Harry is this: the palace reportedly no longer needs to destroy him. It simply believes he will eventually exhaust himself. The institution has chosen indifference. William has reportedly emotionally sealed the door shut. Catherine's illness hardened priorities inside the future king's world. Charles continues operating through illness. The monarchy keeps moving. And somewhere in California, according to this increasingly brutal royal narrative, Harry and Meghan continue speaking louder and louder while the palace grows quieter and quieter. But in royal warfare, silence is sometimes the loudest message of all.